Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Throwing Strikes podcast. I'm Steven Rissotto, and we are back for episode number 9. And we are here with Tyler Shaw, a shortstop at Serra High School in San Mateo, California. He will continue his athletics and academic career at Claremont McKenna College. Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm great.
So obviously, with everything happening right now, we need some distractions. So over the last few months, we've kind of all come up with something new to do. I've watched a ton of more movies than I ever thought I would in a short period of time. So how have you been spending this quarantine time? And is there anything new that maybe you've picked up on?
Not much new, just trying to stay in shape, baseball shape, getting out to the field, throwing with friends, like hitting whenever I can. There's really been no opportunity for me to get to a weight room or gym, so been doing a lot of at-home workouts with body weight, like picking up a heavy backpack, stuff like that. A lot of just sitting around, not doing much, not much to do.
So you've gotten some baseball activity in?
Oh yeah, for sure. You have to.
Mm-hmm. So I know you guys just had a graduation, and we were talking about this before we came on. But take me through what Serra High School did for you guys. How was the day? I know it was the other day. So tell me what happened there.
Yeah. So they had a online webcast that they put on YouTube. Little speeches from our valedictorians, like special speakers like Tom Brady came on, Lynn Swan, a few other guys. And then that was like an hour and a half online. And then they had a drive-through graduation where everyone came in line and you get out of your car, get your diploma, take a picture with gloves and a mask on, because that's how they had to do it. And basically, like for 5 minutes, you take pictures and then you leave, and then that's about it.
So the pandemic completely wiped out your senior baseball season at Serra. So tell me the story about pretty much how you guys got the news, what you guys were in the middle of, because I know you guys got a few games in. So what happened in terms of getting the information that your season was going to be shut down?
So it's weird. We had a 4-day weekend to like just before it got shut down. So we're like, oh, it's a 4-day weekend, and come back and play baseball. Just get this break in, and the 4-day weekend turned into a 2-week break, and then into a month-long break, and then into the rest of the season is canceled. And there's not much you could do about it, but it was just a big bummer. Like some guys never going to touch a high school baseball field again.
Yeah, it's tough. So one of the reasons we play this game, and you can attest to this, is for your teammates. And I know for me, I found myself missing them a lot during this time. So I'm sure you feel the same way. So have you still been in contact with some of your teammates? If so, what's kind of the conversation there?
Oh yeah, for sure. We've become really close over the last 4 years. We play video games every now and then together. We did a few team Zoom calls just to stay in touch. Um, we took some graduation pictures together with masks and everything, of course. But other than that, there's not much you can do with the quarantine lockdown. But just trying to keep in touch with everyone. Like, been talking to them the last 4 years, been hanging out with them every day. It kind of sucks to just have that taken away.
For sure. So growing up in Pacifica, California, you've had the chance to participate and play on some pretty good teams. One of them was more significant than the others. You played for the Pacifica American Little League All-Star team that made it all the way to San Bernardino and was a win shy of Williamsport. So what was that experience like for you?
Oh, I'll never forget that experience. I know I was only 12 years old, but it was just crazy. Cameras everywhere, thousands of people in the stands. I think that's as close as a lot of people are going to get to a professional show to put on. Like, it was just great, and people were asking for your autographs, asking for your little pins. I don't know. It was crazy for a 12-year-old to be under those lights. I'll never forget that. It was great.
So to represent Northern California, that's like a pretty big deal. Um, did you guys at the time realize what you were doing?
Not really. See, we won NorCal. We won to the NorCal Championships, and we just like a few days later, we got to go to San Bernardino. Just got to head down, and we really only noticed that how big of a deal it was when we got videos of people back home with their watch parties. Hundreds of people put it on watch parties, sending their good lucks and all that stuff. But it was super fun to come back home. We had a parade. We were part of the Fog Fest. That was pretty cool. But yeah, it's something you'll never forget.
That's awesome. So I know a lot. I know a lot of you guys that were on that team, and you guys have kind of gone your separate ways. Do you still stay in contact with a lot of those guys from that team?
I'd say about half of them I'm pretty close with, but it's hard to keep in touch with people when they go different directions, like different schools, also different grades, different colleges now. But try to stay in contact with people. Like you grew up with them, Pacifica people. So we do our best, but it's not very easy.
So you move on then to Serra High School, and a ton of kind of outsiders, maybe nationally, definitely locally, identify Serra High School with Barry Bonds and Tom Brady. That's just kind of how it is. So how often are those two guys, and then maybe some other guys, how often are those two guys mentioned around campus and around kind of like the maybe the identification of Serra?
Tom Brady is just about like the poster boy. Everyone loves Tom Brady at Sarah. You don't hear as much about Barry Bonds though. He's not very involved with our alumni, all that stuff. But Tom Brady, our stadium's named after him, our football stadium. You see all of his pictures in the hallways. He visits every now and then. You have those little speeches that he puts on for our graduation. But yeah, Barry Bonds, not really. You always hear like he went to Sarah, but never really heard of him like talking to Sarah people or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool that Brady's still kind of involved there.
Yeah.
So now kind of on to your on the field stuff. I've heard something called the Jungle Game during your freshman year. Can you tell us what that is?
The Jungle Game. Okay, so every year there's this rivalry, pretty much all our sports between us and SI. And the Jungle Game is the basketball game at Sarah versus SI. And we sell out all of the seats in the gym. It goes crazy. We set up the gym so there's like a jungle, there's like palm trees and everything too, and like I don't even know, but there's hundreds of people just yelling, screaming. You can't hear anything. And I was lucky enough to have some of the greatest jungle games experiences. We had a buzzer beater win my freshman year, 20-point comeback last year. But yeah, those are the games that you look forward to every year. The big rivalry games, Sarah versus SI. People that don't even associate with Sarah or SI watch that game, and it's crazy.
So you played, like I mentioned before, you played shortstop at Sarah, and you helped them. You were a part of two WCL championships. Guide me through how good those teams were that you played on at Sarah, and kind of the keys to their success.
Yeah. So at Sarah, I feel like at first we were a lot of individual. Like everyone has talent. Our up and down the roster, everyone has talent. But it was really those two championships was really about like coming together, like and realizing, all right, like if I'm not at a starting spot, I need to figure out how I can help the team. And everyone at some point helped the team to win that championship. It wasn't one person, one player. We had, of course, we had Drew Dowd going to Stanford now. He was our ace, but without our hitting, we hit like crazy those 2 years. And without that, we wouldn't have put ourselves in the position to win any championships. So I'd really say it's more of everyone stepping up at different times during the season. That's how we got it done.
So you mentioned the individual style of play. How often do you find, you look at your teammates and you see guys that are maybe at the same position, and how often does like say your coach um, offer advice to have friendly competition. And for example, like you're a shortstop, maybe there's a guy behind you who's also working hard, or maybe there's a guy behind your double play partner at second also working hard. So how much is it encouraged to, compete with each other, but then still again find a way to play as a team?
Oh yeah, it's encouraged every day. Friendly competition. I think we hear that at least 2 or 3 times a week when we're in season, because there's always someone behind you working. They want to get a starting spot. They want to get playing time. Every single position on the field is like that, and guys are bummed out when they don't see the field, so they work harder. And you got to keep on keeping on. You got to keep on working, even if you're starting already. You know that guy behind you. He has just as much talent as you, so you got to keep working.
Awesome. I think that's a good message for some of the maybe some of the guys that are stuck behind players at positions to keep working. So you were the 2018 Defensive Player of the Year for your junior varsity team in 2018. How much pride do you take in your defense, and what do you do to kind of develop a work ethic when you're in the infield or wherever else you may play? Kind of take me through your defensive strategies.
Yeah, so as a middle infielder, I've always been told defense comes first. Hitting, like, of course, it's important, but defense comes first. So I've always worked on defense first. In every practice, we do picks, we do ground balls every day with my throwing partner. Most of all, like, just getting repetition in ground balls after practice every day. That's what we did. I'd say we'd stay like 30, 45 minutes after practice. It's just no one's around. No coach has already left the field, but you have to keep on getting ground balls, keep on getting that repetition. It pays off, that kind of work when no one's watching.
You mentioned when no one's watching. I like that because I always hear the term um, do stuff, you know, perform like there's somebody's watching you. And I think, or no, I screwed that quote up. You know what? Scrap it. So every every shortstop I know has a favorite. A lot of the shortstop I've played with has a favorite play at the position, whether it be to your left, to your right, coming in on the ball, the Jeter, maybe a double play. So, what is your favorite?
Sheesh, I don't know. I kind of like coming in on the ball. You know, that 1 foot throwing off the run. That's always like an exciting play. You got to be clean, got to be smooth. But double plays, everyone loves a double play, especially those double plays at the middle, glove flips. That gets everyone fired up. I love those.
Yeah, those are sweet. So, are there any big league players that you look up to in terms of who you want to model your game after?
You know, there are plenty of big leaguers that I watch. I try to mimic, try to see what they're doing. Brandon Crawford, of course, local San Francisco Giants, but um, just the guys that are smooth. Francisco Lindor, Javi Baez, just try to be as smooth as possible. Even they're not big, they're middle infielders, and I just try to be as smooth as possible like them. Try to work hard like them.
And they got the swag too. Does
Yeah,
Tyler Shaw have some
exactly.
swag in him?
I'd like to think so. Yeah, I hope so.
So you played during the summer, if I got this right, with game prep. So how important do you think that events like those? How important are events like those for players your age, maybe trying to get noticed and make it as far as possible in their baseball career?
Yeah, so I'd say your high school season in baseball, it's not going to get you on college radars. But your travel season, who you play in the summer for, what tournaments you play in. I know the tournament in Arizona, hundreds of scouts come out from all kinds of colleges to watch. So those kinds of tournaments, those kinds of showcases, you need to be at if you really want to be seen by all those coaches. Game prep was important for that. So was CCB, because we went to the Desert Fall Classic in Arizona. We went to tournaments in San Diego, perfect game showcases I did on my own, all kinds of stuff like that. Showcases, and you got to be out. You got to put yourself out there. You can't just play your high school season and expect to be seen. I'm sure it happens, but most people don't do that.
So if you mentioned playing in Arizona, I know some people that have played in Arizona, and the number one thing that they bring up is the heat. But it's also cool because I know some of them have played at some of the spring training fields. So is playing in Arizona kind of like a different baseball field than like say playing in the Bay Area?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It is 100 degrees at 7 a.m. and if you're not hydrating the night before, 2 days before, then you're done the next day. You just have to you have to keep in mind that everyone is dealing with the same thing you are, and you just got to keep on playing. But the feel is definitely different. You're always in your head. You're thinking it's really hot outside right now in the Bay Area. Like you never have problems with the heat really. So you have wet towels thrown around in Arizona, but it is yeah. So the weather is not the best. You get used to it after like a week, but the experience, it's great playing at those spring training fields, super nice fields. You know that those big league players have been playing there, so it's just cool idea.
So, do you like playing in the heat? Because I know in the Bay Area, especially Pacifica, sometimes you could get the fog and it just becomes a mess. And the hands, you get jammed and like your hand feels
Yeah.
broken. So, what weather do you like playing in the most?
I don't know how I feel about the fog is iffy, but I don't know about the heat either. I like somewhere in between. Like the, part of the reason I'm going to Southern California, it's not going to be 115 degrees, but it's also not going to be foggy 24/7 like Pacifica. So I'd say somewhere in between, like 80 degrees, 90 at most. That's the perfect weather for me.
There you go. So you're gonna be moving on to play baseball at Claremont McKenna College, which is a D3 athletic institution. So I did my research and found that it was ranked ninth best liberal arts school a few years ago in the nation, and it's extremely selective. So they're extremely selective, I should mention, on who they select to be a part of their not just athletic team but academically as well. So how was that process? How did that process develop, and what did you like about the college?
Yeah, so how did it develop? It was my sophomore year. I attended some showcases for Prep Baseball Report (PBR) and some showcases for Play to Win. Those were individual showcases, so just player by player. And Claremont McKenna was there multiple times at multiple showcases, and they invited me down for a visit. When I went to LA, I visited tons of schools down there, and I visited there, and the coach offered me on the spot as a sophomore admission into the school, just a verbal agreement. I didn't answer right then, but checked out other schools, checked out everything, and I did more research, and I was like, this school is like really selective. I just got an offer to come to this school, like, and I've always valued my academics. So after 2 years, I decided that that would be the best spot that I could continue my education and baseball career.
So you mentioned that you really value your academics. Yes, you do. You are extremely qualified for that school. You finished with a 4.61 GPA across all 4 years of high school. Clearly a straight A student. So how important is it? And I guess you could mention how you did it at Serra, but how important is it for you to kind of balance baseball and academics? Because I know a lot of people have a really hard time with that. So what were kind of your tips and how did you do it?
Yeah, so Sarah, uh, our it's always student. We always said student athlete. Student comes first. If you have any problem in the classroom, you deal with that before you come to practice. Like there's no time for messing around. Once you come to baseball, you can't be thinking about other stuff. So you get your stuff done in school, and you just prioritize school before baseball at Sarah. That's their big thing. And you'd still have homework and stuff after practice. So you get home and you eat, do whatever you have to do, but you make sure that you have to get your work done. And I've always just valued my grades, my education. It's always been like that. I don't know exactly why, but uh, I've always tried to work hard and do my best, and it worked out how it did.
So you'll be studying economics in college, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's always time for change, though. They're not set in stone yet.
Gotcha. So I talked to Nick Hanhan, who was one of my prior guests on the show, and he did the same. He studied, he played club baseball at USF and studied economics. And it also resulted in him kind of embracing like statistics and analytics and
Yeah.
all the new things that baseball has kind of adopted. So, do you feel the same way about those numbers? Do you like the numbers? Are you learning about the new data, launch angle, exit velocity? So, kind of in other words, do you like combining maybe baseball and economics?
Um.
I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you. But the statistics has been growing in baseball. It's kind of getting crazy in my opinion with all the stuff they track. I don't know how I feel about the launch angle part. I'm not really a big power guy that's going to be launching balls over fences, but I think I'll for sure be paying more attention to the statistics part of baseball because I've seen it help people out, and I am a big math guy, so probabilities, all that stuff, and just trying to better myself as a baseball player. If that's the way to do it, then I'm totally down to do that.
Do you still shorten up with two? Because I there's nobody that I see nowadays, even at the high school level, that like 2-1 counts, 3-1 counts. There's those swings, but there used to be those swings and only those counts. Now I
Yeah,
see like 3-1 swings like in 0-2 counts. It's
yeah.
like crazy. Do you shorten up
People.
with two?
I don't know that I short. I try to just stay in the same mindset. Of course, in 2-0 count, I'm trying to find one pitch and destroy it. But 0-2 counts, I'm just trying to stay alive, get my pitch, get a good pitch, spoil bad pitches, and try to stay up the middle. But I'm not taking big hacks 0-2. I'm not taking home run swings 0-2 for sure.
If you ever watch Joey Gallo, that's exactly what he does.
Oh, exactly.
Um,
That's what they're paid for.
yeah. So have you gotten the chance to meet any of your future teammates at Claremont McKenna?
Uh, I've met them. I've never met them in person, but they just created a group chat and they've been talking about it, talking about how they're excited about the upcoming season, getting ready for it. But they seem like a bunch of fun guys. I'm sure we'll have some fun there.
Tyler, thanks for joining me. I appreciate the time. I wish you the best of luck moving forward with your career.
Right
Appreciate you
on.
coming on.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, you guys could follow the the show on Twitter at Strikes Podcast, and it's on Instagram at Throwing Strikes Podcast. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and have a good day.